Hey, what is going on guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion on the best AD carries for patch 5.22. Before I start the video though, I just want to give a quick shout out to a YouTuber who I think is deserving of some more recognition. His name is Ed, and he's been uploading videos for a little bit over a month now. I'm pretty sure he's been uploading consistently, and the quality of his videos are really good for someone who's only been uploading for a month. They're definitely better than mine were when I first started YouTube. So if you guys could go over and check out his channel, he makes like comedy type videos. He definitely reminds me of Spazzy, the style that he has in his videos. So if you guys like that kind of stuff, then I think it would definitely make his day if you could just go check out his channel. I'll leave a link in the description and an annotation on the screen as well. So if you guys could do that, that'd be awesome. And with that being said, let's get into the video. So first up, I have Lucian. I think that Lucian is pretty strong now with the changes to his ultimate as well as the changes to the items. He's really good with the new Essence Reaver because Lucian's an AD carry who benefits quite a bit from having mana, since he's more of an AD caster and he relies on hitting his abilities to deal a good chunk of his damage. And with the Essence Reaver changes, it definitely makes him a stronger AD carry now because he's going to get that nice crit and damage from the Reaver, and then he's also going to be getting the mana back from it as well. So I really like Lucian right now with the changes to that item. He's a pretty good laner. Like, as long as you can land your Q and get that poke off in the laning phase, then he can do pretty well. And he's also a pretty bursty AD carry. His culling can pretty much like one shot, or one culling can like take out an entire AD carry's HP bar. Once you get to the mid to late game, it's that strong of an ability, and it's also good for wave clear as well. So I think that now that Lucian's culling got changed to where it does not scale with attack speed, it makes him a lot better as well, because now you don't really have to go for that like Youmuu's Blade of the Ruined King build that you did before on Lucian. Because Lucian is better, in my opinion, if you build him with more AD, because then his Q will do more damage, his culling will do more damage, and he's just a stronger AD carry if you don't have to build attack speed on him, in my opinion, since he's got that double shot, so he doesn't really need a whole lot of attack speed. And I think that the changes to the culling just make him that much stronger. He's pretty mobile as well with his E, and he's a pretty good duelist as well, because he can dodge like enemy skill shots with his E, and he's got pretty good burst for an AD carry. And one con to Lucian though is that he is a little bit harder to play, in my opinion. Like, in the laning phase as Lucian, his Q can be hard to land at times, and if you're new to Lucian, then he may not be the easiest champion to pick up. You might find yourself not doing too well the first few games because his Q is kind of hard to land when you start playing him. And he's also a little bit shorter range, so you have to take that into account as well when playing him. You don't want to just like dash in and try to get as much burst off as possible, because you might end up dying since you are pretty short ranged. And next up, I have Miss Fortune. I think that Miss Fortune is pretty strong as well after her changes. Her ultimate can now crit, and it also the duration of her ultimate is also longer now. So I think that that's a pretty nice change to Miss Fortune. Her ultimate was pretty weak before, but I think that these changes to her ultimate make her just that much stronger now. And her new passive is really good as well for just trading in the laning phase. It gives her extra damage on her first auto attack, and then it will reset when you like auto attack a different target. Say for example, you auto attack a champion, it'll do that extra damage, and then once you auto attack a minion, it will reset that on the champion that you have attacked, and then you can attack them again for extra damage. So I think that her passive is really good right now just for trading in the laning phase. She does have a pretty strong early game. Her Q can do a lot of damage as well, and she does have a really good level 6 all-in, especially if she's playing with a support who can provide good CC for her to line up a nice ultimate. And she does also have the attack speed steroid on her W, which makes her a pretty strong duelist. She is good at zoning too. With her E, it provides a nice AoE slow. And a few cons to Miss Fortune though are that she does not have a gap closer, and she is also a little bit weaker in the late game compared to some of the other AD carries like Vayne, Jinx, and Tristana, because she isn't a hyper scaling AD carry. Next up, I have Kaitlin. So I think that the Kaitlin changes make her a much stronger pick now. If you did not know, her W and her E now interact with her headshot, so whenever the enemy steps on your W or gets hit by your E, you get a free headshot, and you also get double the range on that headshot, so the enemies just can't go around stepping on your traps for free anymore and just getting rid of them, because you can deal a lot of damage if they end up doing that, and you can set your traps up really nicely in the laning phase to like zone your opponents from CS and to make them just, it's going to be a lot harder for the enemies to lane against the Kaitlin now, because her traps are actually going to be pretty useful. Her laning phase is still like one of the best in the game. She's got long range and she's got the poke from her Q, so she's still going to do really well in the laning phase, and she's a great duelist as well, as long as she can hit her E, because if she hits her E then she'll get the free headshot and she can just follow that up with a lot of damage. She is also a pretty strong late game AD carry as well. A few cons to Kaitlin though are that she does have a weaker mid game compared to some of the other AD carries, and I find that if you fall behind with Kaitlin then it is kind of hard to catch up, since she doesn't have like, she's not like a Jinx where she's got AoE crit potential, and she's not like a Vayne where she's got free true damage, so if you fall behind as Kaitlin it is a little bit harder to catch up. Next up, I do have Jinx, so I think that the changes to Jinx this patch really didn't affect her too much at all. I still think she's a really good AD carry for solo queue, so pros to Jinx are that she scales really well into the late game. She is also strong at all stages of the game. She really does not have a weak point. She's got pretty good CC for an AD carry as well, coming out of her W and her E, and her ultimate is really nice for just finishing off that low health target or getting a snipe across the map in the laning phase, as Jinx can get you rolling for sure. Just make sure that you're keeping an eye out on your lanes in the laning phase, because if the enemy goes to back and they're on low HP, you can just shoot a rocket across the map and you can just use that to get the advantage on your opponent. She's a great tower pusher as well, one of the best in the game because of the attack speed steroid she's got with her Q, and she does also have really nice cleanup potential with her passive. She does have the long range with her fishbones as well, which just makes her a great AD carry when it comes to staying safe. Like you can just keep your distance in team fights as Jinx when you are using your fishbones, since it does have a pretty solid range to it. And a few cons to Jinx though is that she does not have a gap closer, so if you aren't very confident on your positioning as AD carry, then Jinx may not be the best pick for you, and she is also semi skill shot reliant with her W and her ultimate. And last but not least, on the top 5 for this patch is probably one of the strongest AD carries we've ever seen in a long time, and that is Graves. I'm pretty sure he's getting nerfed next patch, but he is like absolutely crazy strong right now. His burst is it's just insane, like the amount of damage that you can do with Graves. If you can get rolling with Graves, then he can just solo carry team fights so hard, and he can just do so much damage. He really doesn't have a weak point in the game either. He's super mobile as well, because his E is on a pretty short cooldown, and the cooldown also gets reduced. I'm not too sure how, like I think it's whenever you auto attack the cooldown gets reduced or something like that, but it's on a pretty short cooldown, and he can just dash around it really well in team fights because of that. His W is also pretty strong now, because the enemies can't see anything when they are on it, and that just makes him a really, really good duelist. If he plants his W in the right position when he's dueling the enemy AD carry and they don't have a dash, then he's going to be able to get a bunch of free damage off on them, while they won't be able to get any damage off on him. And he does also have a really strong level 6 all-in. Pair Graves up with a strong engaged support like a Leona or a Blitzcrank or a Thresh, and you can absolutely wreck in the laning phase. A few one con to him though is that he is shorter range, so it's not really that big of a deal, I found. But if he is playing against enemies who have really strong like hard engage, like a Malphite or a Jarvan or something, you can find yourself not doing too well, because you can get engaged on really easily. But then again, the amount of damage you can do with Graves really counteracts that, because you'll be able to get so much damage off before you die that even if you do die, it won't really matter too much. So I think that Graves is just an overall really, really strong pick right now. So first up on the honorable mentions, I have Vayne. I think that the changes to Vayne, well, they made her stronger in the late game, but she is a lot weaker in the early game now. So I definitely do think that it hurts her quite a bit for the early game. She's going to be really weak against AD carries like Kaitlin, any longer range bursty AD carries. She's pretty weak against Graves, Lucian. So I think that she's still a strong AD carry, but she is definitely weaker now because of her weaker early game. Next on the honorable mentions, I have Tristana. So Tristana is always going to be a pretty strong pick for solo queue because she's got the self-peel with her ultimate, she's got the gap closer with her W, and she is a very strong late game AD carry as well. I think that Tristana, like the changes that they made to her this patch, it didn't really make her a whole lot stronger, it didn't really make her weaker, so I still think that she is a very good pick for solo queue. Next on the honorable mentions, I have Corky. So I think that the changes to Corky are pretty nice because I've been seeing a lot of full AD comps being played. Like Yasuo is meta right now and he's being played in the mid and top lane quite a bit. We're seeing a lot of full AD compositions being played, and with the changes to Corky, it just allows it allows your team comp to have that full AD comp, and then you can just fit a Corky in there and have some extra or have some magic damage in your comp. So I think that he is a pretty strong pick right now. Definitely pick him if your team does have like 3 AD. If you've got an AD mid, top, and jungle, then pick Corky for sure because he's going to provide that magic damage for your team. And I think that the changes that they made to his passive and to his Valkyrie, where every like 5 minutes he can go back to base and pick up a package and he gets like an equalizer with his W. I think that's pretty strong. It can definitely, I found that whenever I do pick it up, I always end up getting a kill. So it's a pretty strong it gives you a pretty decent power spike once you pick that package up. So I think that like with Corky, pick him if your team has a bunch of AD, but I do still think that there are stronger AD carries than him if your team does have mixed damage. Next up, I have Draven. So Draven is always going to be an AD carry who is a little bit harder to play just because he relies on catching his axes to deal maximum damage, and if you can't do that in team fights, then he isn't going to be as worth playing than some of the other AD carries in the game. But if you are a good Draven player, you can definitely carry really hard. And last but not least, I have Calista. So the changes to the Runaan's Hurricane make Calista pretty good right now because she can crit now with that Runaan's, and Runaan's was always a core item on Calista. So I think that the changes to that item make her a pretty strong pick right now. And if you know how to use Calista's passive and you can kite well with her and you know how to take advantage of her strong early game, then you can still do really well on her. So that is all for the video, guys. There are quite a few pretty strong AD carries this patch. Like, I really don't think that there is a like crap tier AD carry, maybe like Urgot, but I think that most of the AD carries are actually viable right now, and I think that's the first time that we can say that in a long time because the items are just really strong right now on AD carries, and it really doesn't matter which one you pick too much. Like, obviously some are stronger than others, but I do think that whichever AD carry you do choose, you have a pretty good chance to carry on them. So my list, it was a lot harder to make this patch because I do think that a lot of AD carries are pretty strong right now. So thanks for watching, guys. If you did enjoy the video, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.